My next guest is Kenji Haroutunian, who is the show director of the Big Gear Show. And we, in the background, you're seeing a part of Park City. That's where the Big Gear Show is going to be this year in a couple of weeks. And I want to welcome Kenji to the show. And Kenji, as I recall, you and I talked about this a couple days ago, but we met about 20 years ago at the Outdoor Retailer Show in Salt Lake City.
Yeah, that's right. Thanks for having me on, Paul. It's great to be on the Out and Back podcast and to get some FaceTime with you.
The first question here is the Big Gear Show will be in Park City again, as we said, in Deer Valley in a couple of weeks. It's a brand new show, and you're getting a lot of press. A lot of brands are coming. A lot of retailers are coming. What makes you different?
Well, I'm glad you asked. That's it's really the whole point of doing shows and events, at least since I left Outdoor Retailer 6 years ago, is to try to forge something different for the B2B and the trade show experience in the age where, really the conventional shows were built, 20, 30, 40, 50 years ago for a really different purpose at that time. And so what makes the Big Gear Show different is a number of things that essentially I've learned over 20 plus years in the events industry and over 35 in the outdoor industry. And the first thing is that it's all outdoors. So the event takes place 100% in the outdoors, up at 7,000 feet at Deer Valley Resort, where there's amazing trails for trail running and mountain biking. There's put-ins for paddling canoes and kayaks and stand-up paddle boards, road riding, trail running, hiking, even rock climbing we have on site and off site as well. So it's really built to be an experiential event. So one that puts our show in the context of the industry's passion and the products and activities that we promote. So that's two of the things. And the third thing is we're invitation only. So we're trying to keep this a very high quality event that brings the right people in together, and especially in a pandemic year, not to overvalue just the sheer numbers of people that are engaged, because I think, with a curated mix, that's part of the modern show experience is to, and I think with many brands and businesses, being focused and knowing who your audience is very specifically is really important for every brand, every show. And the soup to nuts approach makes it tough to get value out of it if you're an exhibitor or even an attendee, if you've ever been to CES, for example, or other mega shows that are pretty overwhelming.
So you're outside. You have a lot of you have brands coming. You have retailers coming. I'm assuming their people will come to test the gear. I know that you've got water very close for all the aquatic stuff. I know that you've got 400 miles of trails all over Park City to test a variety of different bicycles and accessories. You have all those things. Are the retailers coming to buy?
I in this year, that's a great question. I think there are 100 reasons why somebody might come to a trade show. And, usually it's some kind of subset of 10 of those 100 or 5 or 25 that any particular team wants to come. We have, small one-shop retailers attending that are really high quality. We have relatively sizable retailers like Shields and REI attending who have, dozens or hundreds of stores. So it's a very different purpose, different folks come with. So the process of buying, when you say, are they coming to buy? Well, we have to kind of think about what that means. How do people buy right now? Well, typically they're placing orders through an online interface, and they can do that at any time. But how do they learn about the products? How do they experience them? How do they decide what their product mix is? Each retailer has their formula for determining what that is. But I think the general answer is yes. However, what underscores it even more is this is the first time in 2 years that this group is going to be together as far as the outdoor industry retailers and brands go that are focused on gear. And so that's the primary thing that's going to happen is reestablishing or deepening the relationships that everyone is reliant on in this industry to get around big problems like supply chain issues or inclusivity in the industry or e-commerce challenges. These are education topics at the show, but they also speak to the reasons why people might come. So yes and no is the answer to that.
Right. And let's explore that a little bit more. So after being, both of us have been in the outdoor industry and the lifestyle industry for a very long time. And we all know that, I mean, this thing is built on relationships, probably more so than some of the other industries and verticals like computers, etc. So what's interesting to me is why are, okay, so the retailers are coming to maybe to look at buying, but not sure. Brands are coming to say, we want to be there. So would there be a basic value proposition that they haven't been together? They do want to talk about the supply chain. The brands want to hear about the retailers' problems with, we don't have it, we can get it in 2 months, but the price is higher. All of those kind of issues. Is it the conversation that you want them to have about how do we exist right now and how do we move forward?
Yeah, I think that that's a really good question. Again, I think it is going to be a little different depending on, who we're talking about as far as what those conversations are about. But at the end of the day, Paul, that is exactly right. People want to do business in these passion-driven industries like cycling, paddle sports, trail sports, backpacking, climbing. I mean, really, these are all passion-driven industries. Nobody's getting into this business to make $1 million unless they're starting with 2 million. These are, and because of that, the relationship between buyer and seller, between brand and retail partner, and the other ecosystem elements that are part of this equation, inclusive of nonprofit advocacy organizations and athlete ambassadors and lots of different folks that you'll see at the Big Gear Show that are part of this conversation and equation about value. So I think that that the elements that the show are offering wrap around one other basic tenet that I didn't mention. So we talked about a curated experience. We talked about the relationship building piece of it and how the show facilitates that a bit. And then the other thing is it's affordable. Like, I think that that's a really important thing, that it's hard to match up shows that are wrapped around lifestyle presentations with the price and then the value equation that results from that. So we're trying to reset the bar to be a more affordable experiential event, maybe a little bit less about the sort of the marketing firepower of the brand story and a little more about the people and the products. And that's really about why the Big Gear Show is even called that. It's around the gear that gets people outdoors. There are plenty of other events for lifestyle product presentations, and those have to be timed in a certain sequence to match up with the apparel buying season, the apparel manufacturing that happens primarily in Asia. Hard goods and equipment are fundamentally different than that. And so that's part of the value equation as well, is to make it affordable and focus on the actual experience of getting outdoors and what gear facilitates and powers that for consumers as well as buyers and the rest of us.
Right. One of the things is, I just mentioned we have 400 miles of single track all around Park City. And how are you having certain routes that if somebody wants to take out a mountain bike, or they want to take out a road bike, or they want to test some accessories or whatever, that they're going to be out in the mountains? Are you monitoring that at all, or is it just go and we'll see you in 30 minutes, or is that up to the brands?
That's a great question. We are shaping it to be relatively short sessions. And I think that serves the attendees as well as the brands. I guess it's nice to go on a 4-hour mountain bike ride up along the Wasatch, the ridgeline there. But the way we have it set is with a lift that goes to the top, The downhill has many different ways down, but they all funnel back to the show site. So it's also separate, where hiking and trail running are on separate trails than the mountain bike trails there, which is really great for us from a safety standpoint. So generally speaking, though, buyers also want to try things, but they don't necessarily want to disappear all day. These are not consumers, you know, these are retail buyers, and they have a job to do with 140 exhibits to visit potentially to kind of power through that in 3 days.
A lot of shows also concentrate on the social aspect. One of the things that you talked about was the importance of the brands connecting with the retailers, understanding what the end of the sale now looks like. But there's also time for social. What are you doing with regard to social, getting these groups together over beers or whatever?
It's a great question, because of course I'm very energetic about producing like great trainings and sessions for people to attend, and the workshops that have you know, postable results, and I'm excited about all that. But at the end of the day, in thinking about, you know, this dynamic, we realize that people are so excited to see each other. I mean, we're hearing it from the retailers, from the media, people, and the brands. They're just, it's almost sort of like awkwardly giddy about getting together. And so to try to kind of force these workshop style you know, events at the show, I realized that was probably kind of swimming upstream. And so what we do have, we have a big gathering on Tuesday night for all the folks of the show. The state of Utah will be there. There'll be great brands participating, and just to celebrate and be together, you know, is kind of what we're talking about there. There's an inclusion happy hour on the Tuesday afternoon at the Climbing Village. We have a retailer lounge where we're hosting events with education tents. So there's a number of different features and events, but they are all wrapped around networking and kind of helping people get back together and not forcing the agenda too much. We do have the education modules, and they're pretty compelling. If you go to the website, you can kind of see that at the Big Gear Show, but they're all concentrated in the morning. So 7:30 to 10:30 is when we're doing.
And they're all intense, and it's all outside, and it's all at the base of Deer Valley.
Exactly.
Last question. What's success look like for the big show after this is all over, and you get the feedback from the brands back, and you get the feedback from the retailers? What's the end game here for you? What's your goal?
Great question. You're good at this, Paul. The goal is a simple one. We really are proving a concept here, and we want to earn the right to go again. You know, that's the simple goal right now. We're pretty focused on producing a great event for everyone invited and attending and exhibiting. And next year, we want people to be excited for it. We think that we've hit on a great equation here that serves the industry, but also we're new, and we don't want to be too confident about the model. You know, it has to be flexible. And I think of any business today that needs to be super flexible, if you're in the events industry or the outdoors industry, it is all about flexibility in 2021 and 2022. So we're looking forward to engaging the founding exhibitor base, the attending retailers, those that didn't attend, that wanted to, but for whatever reason couldn't or didn't, continuing that dialogue, and to improve the show in a way, in a you know, kind of in an ongoing way, the Kaizen style, I guess I'll call it.
Right. And one more thing that I should probably be talking about is some of the retailers certainly wanted to attend this because they like the idea of an exhibitor show that may have a buying component. We are outside because it is out and back, so you're hearing a truck go by. But you've got that situation where you've got the brands, and it's a buying show and it's exhibitor show. But also the brands, a lot of these brands have kind of backed out because of the pandemic and the concerns about that. Did you hear that?
You know, a little bit, yes. In fact, I would say the bigger the brand or retailer, the more reticent they were to send people or to even attend any event in the year of 2021. So yes, I would say so. I think that it's been pretty hard. But also, I have to say this: people that had said no earlier in their year have also come back. Companies like Mountain Hardware and Industrial Revolution and others that at first were like, no, we're not doing events, and then they kind of sussed the situation out and kind of applied that flexibility principle that is probably going to be with us for a while, and said, you know what, we should be there. I'm hearing from the retailers that they want to see us there. They're going. And so it is that chicken and egg thing about events that is what I've learned over this many years of doing it.
Yes. Congratulations on a unique business model, and wish you all the success in the world. I think it's very interesting. I know that you've gotten national attention on this. So good luck, Kenji, and thank you for being a guest on Out and Back.
Thank you, Paul. Thanks for having me and for holding the fort down there in Park City, where we're excited to be in a few weeks.
Great. Talk to you then.